Hello and welcome to a look at Skate or Die for the Commodore 64, a game that was released by Electronic Arts. Skate or Die is a skateboarding multi-event game much in the line of the game series by Epix, but of course focused around skateboarding events. It's a game that can be played 1 to 8 players, and if you play more than one player, then there will be certain events where you play against the other player or players, if that's the case. And if you are playing by yourself, you will be given a computer opponent for those kind of events. But first and foremost, of course, we have to sign up. And that is relatively simple to do because I can spell my own name, which is always nice. Then you have to choose a board color, and the color turquoise is my favorite color of all time. So this is as close as I can get, which is close enough. And then it's out on the street after selecting to go compete or to go practice, and then navigate to the street that signifies whatever you're trying to practice or compete. For the purpose of this video, I will be competing in all events. First up, we have the half-pipe ramp thing, where you get 10 passes in order to score as many points as possible. Each pass is one go at the ramp, so back and forth is 2 passes, that's just a single one. And then of course, depending on various different input from the joystick, you can do various different tricks, and the more complicated they are, the higher the point score you will be awarded for doing them. Towards the end of the event, you will be given a bonus score, which is dictated not only by the complexity of the various tricks you're trying to do, but also the variety of them. So just doing the same trick over and over again will net you a very low bonus point score. Depending on the trick you are doing or not doing, it may be worth just hammering the same trick over and over again in order to achieve a higher score. That leads us on to the next event, which will be high jump. The point in this event is to gain as much height on the skateboard as possible by going back and forth on the ramp. You have 5 passes, and 1 full back and forth on the ramp is considered to be 1 pass. And while you are on the ramp, you need to waggle your joystick like absolute crazy in order to build up speed. You don't want to touch the joystick when you're off the ramp, because then the skateboarder, I think it's called, will start spinning, and unless you can land it correctly, you will crash and have to start building up speed again. And that is not something that is easily done once you have lost momentum. But next event coming up will be the downhill race, and I need to emphasize a downhill race because there are various different tricks and stunts and things like that you can do on the way down the hill. But considering the fact that most of your points awarded will be gained through going through the race very quickly, it is up to you to decide whether you want to risk losing time by crashing, failing to do the various different tricks you have available, and get a lower bonus for completing the race at a quick pace. It didn't take too long to go through this one, so that leads us to our next event. The downhill jam, which is one of 2 events where you'll be playing against another player or the computer. And this time you are skateboarding down a street kind of thing, and trying to cause as much havoc as possible, and scoring points by kicking lids off dustbins and kicking the other player off his skateboard, or just punching him a gentle bit. There are various different obstacles you have to try and avoid, like the bins themselves, containers, boxes, and of course the incredibly famous and notorious and whatever else you call it, fence, which you will get to see shortly what happens if you fail to navigate that properly. You are also getting bonus points for completing this stretch quickly, but not as many bonus points as in the downhill race, because this is not called a race, this is just called the downhill jam. And there's a fence, and did anyone order french fries? Lovely. This is actually an event that is very easily cheesed if you play this game 2-player as a single player, because you can just kick the other player off the skateboard until you have gained enough 500 point bonuses, until you think that your score is high enough, and then complete the race and be told how great you are for scoring a higher amount of points. Yeah. Not much more to say about it. Fight the other player or try to avoid the other player, kick stuff, jump stuff, and don't smack into the police car at the end of the event. And finally we have the masochistic, sadistic event called Pool Joust, where you have 2 skateboarders in an empty pool. One of them will have a paddle and the other one will be up the famous creek without the same paddle, and you can likely imagine that the one with the paddle is trying to smack the other one who hasn't got a paddle off their skateboard, landing face first in an empty pool. That's likely healthy. The 2 players will take turns being in control of the paddle, and if the player without the paddle manages to do 5 full clears of the sides of the ramp or pool, then the game will switch so that the player without the paddle will be given the paddle and the other player will have to run for his life. An interesting but ultimately not particularly a fitting event, and when you're playing by yourself, it doesn't matter what computer opponent you play against, you have to practice quite a lot before you can avoid getting absolutely mauled. But, of course, playing against myself, I beat myself in a game where I was the only one playing. I am amazing. Let's do technical stuff. Bearing in mind, of course, this game is a game from 1987. From a graphical point of view, later games surpassed this, and so it will only qualify as being great looking, but at its time of release, even, the graphics would have been exceptional. The level of detail is surprisingly high, especially for a game of this type, and the overall graphical quality is undeniably of a quality where you can easily tell that whoever was responsible for drawing the graphics really cared about delivering the best that that person was capable of doing, and I would say succeeded in doing so. The sound effects, very fitting for the game, and there's some of them that are a bit on the loud side, but especially the epic sound of going through the fence and be turned into meaty french fries is unforgettable. But the quality again is of a very, very high level, and of course the music, specifically the title music, which is something somewhat legendary, but also the in-game event music, which I think is of a very high quality. You may not like the style of music, but the quality is definitely very, very high. Delivered by the master himself, Mr. Rob Hubbard, by the way. The controls are fine as such, but on the downhill stretches it can feel a bit heavy. In order to duck on the skateboard you have to press down the fire button, and in order to jump you have to, if you use normal controls, press the fire button and up at the same time, which will take some time getting used to and will initially likely feel a bit wonky. It is not something you can't get around, so yeah. Not unhappy with the controls. Something that has to be mentioned concerning this game is its load times. They can be rather extensive. Something like the downhill race section, which can be done in as little as 17 seconds, is preceded by about 90 seconds worth of loading, which is not exactly ideal. As a single player game, once you have set the high scores you want to set, this is likely going to lose some of its luster, and I would definitely say that the game is infinitely better by playing with other players. If you are not a fan of skateboarding or skateboarding games in general, I don't think this game will convert you. But as I always do when making these videos, I read comments to get a feel for what people may or may not think about certain games, and the opinions concerning this game is best game ever made, best skateboarding game ever made. I am a skateboarder, I know better, this game sucks. Due to that, I will leave it up to you, the viewer, to draw your own conclusions. There's definitely no denying that from a technical point of view, this game is rather special. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.